hello. This is Zakiya Monique, Master Relationship Strategist here. And I want to thank you for tuning in to part two of the series. Listen, if you didn't catch part one, I'll try to put it somewhere up top in a card, and I'll also try to link it below in the description. So make sure you check out part one as well. But thank you for tuning in to part two. And without further ado, let's get to it. Few things, right? But let's talk quickly, and I'm going to give you three reasons today, and I'm going to come back, Lord's will, and give you some more reasons tomorrow as to why things go sour, right? Because here's the problem. The problem is that we sit up and act like this stuff happens suddenly. No, it happens one day at a time. Just like a marriage can be built beautifully one day at a time, a marriage can crumble, disintegrate, and be tore up one day at a time. Okay. So number one, and this is a big one. This is why I made this one number one. Why do things go sour? Your foundation is distorted. See, even the Bible tells us over in Psalm 11 and 4. If you believe in the Bible, if you don't, that's cool. But Psalm 11 and 4, I believe it is. It says, "If the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do?" And my Bible tells me that the prayer of the righteous availeth much. It tells me a whole lot that the righteous can do and be delivered from and saved from. But Psalm 11 and 4 says, "If the foundations be destroyed of a thing, what can the righteous do?" Nothing. Nothing. It is not just about how you start a thing. See, we always talk about how somebody starts a thing. No. It's not just how you start a thing. Most of us are in ruts in marriages because of why we started that thing. Why? Honestly, the why is even more of a focal point than the how. You can't marry him to show her up and think y'all gonna live happily ever after. If your reason for marrying him is to make her mad, you finna have a life sentence or some miserable days. Because that shouldn't even be the whole equation. I'm not marrying you to make her mad. You know, I told somebody one time, I said, look, one of the games that I didn't like to play in school was tug of war. Never liked it. Thought it was the dumbest thing ever. If you play tug of war with me, you're going to win every time. I remember my ex telling me one time, he said, if you would have acted crazy and all of that, we'd be together now. No, we wouldn't. Because if I got to pull the rope and cause calluses on my hand and have my hand bleed and all of that for you to love me, I'm going to lose every time when it comes to tug of war. I ain't tugging because I don't feel like I should have to. I shouldn't have to play tug of war. I shouldn't have to play tug of war. Either you want it or you don't. And if you don't, okay, I'll cry. I might be, maybe, maybe. Depends on who it is. But okay, I'll suffer in silence and move on. That's just the truth. Like I'll be sad for a minute, but I don't. I like peace. I don't like drama. I just don't. So you can't marry him to show her up and think that's gonna work. It ain't no depth in that. Ain't no substance in that. You can't marry him because y'all been together all these years and you think that's enough. That's not enough. People last in time all the time. Don't mean they last in love. Lasting in time and lasting in love is two different things. The scripture says, what God has joined together. It may not be say this verbatim, but what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. That tells me that God ain't joining every union. I venture to say that God ain't joining most unions nowadays. What God blesses bears fruit. It bears much fruit. So my question to you is, what has your union produced? What has your marriage produced? Don't tell me nothing about no kids. Don't tell me nothing about no kids. What has it produced? Some folks can't even produce a peaceful home for their children, let alone impact the world. What is it built on? Why did you get married in the first place? See, if we search and think back, it wasn't because they were a blessing to our lives. If we search and think back, it wasn't because, oh, we didn't want to do life without them. If we search and think back, it was not because of a spiritual, emotional, or mental connection that we had with them. Most of our rationales are flesh based. We weren't ready to be led and ready to honor and ready to obey. We weren't ready to lead and submit to God, fellas, because y'all ain't exempt either. We weren't ready to be life partners. We weren't in sync with them. We weren't in sync with what our purposes were together and the partnership that we were supposed to have. We were excited about getting married because we never thought we would. We never thought we would have our turn. But my question to you is, was it your time? Forget about your turn. So many of us feel like it'll never happen for us, that when we get the opportunity, we just take it. We don't even care. Oh, well, we'll figure it out later. I used to do wedding coordinating, wedding coordinating for people. I would do event planning and stuff. And I remember a guy saying that he told the girl that he cheated on her on purpose, just to see what she would do. And you know what she told him? It doesn't matter. We can figure it out. He told her he cheated on her right before the marriage. And she said, doesn't matter. We can figure it out. And it was at that moment that he realized she wasn't interested in the marriage. She was more concerned about the wedding. See, ladies, men don't want to be used either. We think they just don't care. We think, oh, well, no, they don't want to be used either. We were more excited about getting married because we never thought it would be our turn. But I'm going to ask you one more time. Was it your time? Forget your turn. Was it your time? We were more excited about being a bride than a wife. We were more excited about the wedding than the marriage. And that is a recipe for disaster every single time. And then some of us will stay together to save face and last in time. But when your foundation is distorted, you will not last in love. And this brings about misery and resentment and bitterness and alcoholism and suicide and domestic violence and broken homes for your children and depression and so much more. All because your foundation was destroyed. So it's not just about how you come together, but why. Why? The second reason is that things fall apart and go sour. There was never a common purpose that you shared. Marriage is about purpose. This is what I believe. If you don't believe it, that's fine. But marriage is about purpose. It is about the coming together to accomplish what God desires for the two people to do in the earth. So he put those two people together to do a thing in the earth, or some things in the earth. In my first relationship, I wanted to learn and impact the world, and he wanted to be the man in the hood. Nah, no shade to him. If that's your goal, that's your goal. No shade to him, no harm, no foul. But the problem is, if I'm trying to impact the world, and you want to be the man of the hood, we're gonna keep missing each other. Why? Because that's worlds apart. And that's not to say that I was better than him or he was better than me, because that ain't what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is we kept missing each other because we wasn't even on the same plateau. We wasn't even. He looked at me one day and said, I'm the bird man, Daddy. I fly in any weather. What did you say? I mean, I know it's a part of a song, but what? Just saying. Opposites do attract when you learn how to allow those opposites to, be an advantage in your relationship. Because we don't have to be the same in order for us to bloom. We don't have to be exactly the same. We don't have to like the same movies and the same stuff all the time, because it really is about balance. I used to think that a soulmate, and I don't think that we necessarily have one soulmate or one person for us, because, anything could happen. But what I do know is a soulmate, or a person that is for you at that time, who is really designed for you. I believe that they come along to balance you. They don't come along to do everything the way that you do it. They come along to bring a different perspective. They come along to show you a different side of life in the areas that you struggle in. And the whole point of it is, in my view, with soulmates is that person helps you in the areas that you are weak. So you have this person who's strong here and you're, weak, and they cover that. That's my idea of it. Okay. And so they cover your weaknesses, you cover their weaknesses with your strength, they cover your weaknesses with their strength, and that's what it really comes down to. We think soulmates is somebody that come along, agree with us, and we gonna wear the cute colors together, and that can happen. But ultimately, it's somebody that comes along and gives you the things that you don't have already, and comes and it's like fitting the missing piece to the puzzle. They bring balance to your life. They help you see things in a way that you wouldn't have seen them. You understand what I'm saying? So opposites do attract when you learn to allow those opposites to flourish in your relationship and don't let them, pull you apart. However, if you're not careful, you'll look up and you will have grown and gone in different directions. This is why we have to take time for ourselves and see. People get mad when I say that your husband comes first. I didn't say your babe, your boo, your man. I said your husband comes first. The reason why your husband comes first is because that's who you're going to be left with. Them kids going to go off and be somebody else's husband or wife. And so if you're not careful and you do not cultivate that relationship while those kids are there, when those kids leave, he going to leave too, or she going to leave too. You know why? That's why most people get divorced somewhere around that 18-year mark. Now it's turning into that 14, 15-year mark. Why? Because they like, these kids old enough to understand. Most of the time they try to shelter the kids from the damage that divorce can do. And so they used to wait until the kids were grown and out the house. And then they're like, all right, mom and dad, we has been unhappy for the longest and we hate each other. And so we're going to leave. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, they like, he 14, 15, he understand. So we have to cultivate our relationships. You don't have to like the same movies and same this and the same that, but there needs to be a common ground on what you stand to accomplish in the relationship and where you're going in the relationship. If there is no common ground on where you stand in the relationship and what you stand to accomplish in the relationship and where you're going in the relationship, if there is no common ground, I'm gonna say it again. If there is no common ground on what you stand to accomplish in the relationship and where you're going in the relationship, guess what's gonna happen? You will accomplish nothing and you'll go nowhere. I know people who will say, we've been together for X amount of years. What have you done? Nothing. We both crazy. We argue, we be fighting. What have you done? Who has benefited from you being together? Because let me tell you something about purpose. Purpose always benefits others. We get benefit too, but it always blesses somebody else. Your union always blesses somebody else when God touches it. And the third thing for tonight, this is part 1. Respect decreases and love does too. So the third reason why things break down and what happens in the relationship before the breakup, respect decreases and love did too. And let me tell you why. Men need respect like we need love. Now, I believe in the Bible, and the Bible tells us that we are to honor our husbands. It doesn't tell us to love them. It tells them to love us. They're to love us like Christ loves the church. We're to honor them. If you don't believe it, look over in Ephesians for yourself. We're to honor them. They're to love us. Why? Because their love is respect. Respect to them is love. But what we'll do is we will try to love them because that's what we need. That's not what they need per se. They like, respect me and we can get to the other stuff later. Because if you respect me, then I believe you love me. So here's the thing. Respect is their love, but we keep marrying men, males, boys that we cannot or we refuse to respect. Now, I'm not talking about the ones that's ratchet and raggedy. Because that might be why you can't respect him, because he a little suspect with his foolishness. We're not talking about him. We keep marrying these males and boys that we don't respect. And when we cannot respect them, or when we will not respect them, they will do one of three things in my view. Now, correct me, fellas, if I'm wrong. Number one, they will no longer put out the level of love that we need, and it will become a vicious cycle. So if we don't respect them, guess what they're going to do? They ain't going to love us. They're not going to show us the love that we need. They're not going to pour into us the way. Because listen, it's a cycle. When we love and adore them, when we honor and adore them, and we show them admiration, they need admiration. We need adoration. So when we show them admiration and I have faith in you, haven't you ever noticed that if you tell him, I have faith in you, I know you're going to do an awesome job. And then when you speak those words of affirmation of him, he go harder. He try harder. He go further. He go deeper. He like, she, as long as I know she care, and I'm talking about real. Don't start saying this stuff and you don't mean it, because they can tell that too. But I'm talking about when you go hard for them, and to the point where you telling them, I believe in you, I believe you can do it, I know you can do it. When you start speaking over them like that, they go harder. They like, I can do it. They want to run through the wall, because that's what they need. Meanwhile, when he said, I just love you, he come up and you washing the dishes and he come hug you from behind. He just feel like he just wanted to, because that's what you need. But if you start telling him, you ain't good for nothing, you don't you think he gonna love on you? You think that's what he gonna do? You think he gonna love you as you disrespect him? It becomes a vicious cycle. The second thing that'll happen is when we cannot respect them, they will start to see us as competition, because when a man senses disrespect, he sees you as an opponent. In my experiences. So when he senses disrespect, he sees an opponent. He no longer sees his love, his partner, his life mate. You disrespected me, now you're an opponent. And I don't know about you. I used to watch wrestling when it was WWF, not the WWE stuff. Back when it was WWF, right? And I ain't never seen an opponent that like loved each other. You know what I'm saying? I'm going against you. I'm trying to win. So men don't cover, shelter, love, and provide for opponents. They just don't. So when we can't respect them, number one, they will no longer put out the level of love that we need, and becomes a vicious cycle, because when we don't feel love, then we start disrespecting more. And the more we disrespect them, less love they're going to give. And then the second thing is they'll start to see us as competition, because when they sense disrespect, they see us as an opponent. And the third thing, he going to go ahead on and find him a new castle to be the king of. Because he like, nah, I ain't finna be bothered with this. And so those are the three I want to share tonight. I want you to understand that none of this stuff happens suddenly. It's breakdowns a little bit at a time. And this is why, if you don't want to be in a relationship, if you don't want to take the time to cultivate a relationship, if you don't want to take the time to be in tune with your mate, just stay single. Just stay single and date. Just tell a person, I ain't dating exclusively. I want to do what I want to do. Because relationships are work. And hear me clearly. We have to take the time to stay in tune with our mate, in addition to making sure the kids got what they need, in addition to making sure your boss got, the supervisor got what he need. And this, yes, it's work. Yes, it's hard sometimes. But when you make a decision to commit to somebody, you're making a decision to do all of this stuff. And we have to stop getting in these relationships, giving 20%, expecting 100% results. Not gonna work. Okay, so I'm going to come back tomorrow, Lord's will, with a few other reasons why things go sour. But tonight, number one was your foundation is distorted. It's not just about how you do a thing, but it's also why. The second thing that I said was there is not a common purpose. What is the purpose of your relationship? What is the purpose of your marriage? What are you working toward? What's the common goal? And the third thing is respect decreased and love did too. If you don't feel like you can respect him, why you marry him? For real. If you don't feel like you can respect him, you can respect his word, you can respect him, what did you marry him for? Were you more excited about it being your turn? Did you just settle? That's what I did. Did you just settle? If you did, you just got to be honest about it. But we have to get out of the habit of thinking that all of this stuff happens suddenly. It does not. And you have to be careful that you're not sitting with a grieving spouse And you so selfish that you don't even care. You know how many Facebook, I'm gonna say this before I close. You know how many Facebook pictures I look at and it look like the guy want to hold up a sign, say, help me, rescue me, and the girl just smiling. She don't care, just stand here. So many guys are just props. We don't even care about his mental health at all. We don't care about his mental health. He go through hell and high water at work. We don't care about his mental health. We don't care. Just come stand right here on this picture. Just pay these bills. Just let's go to the store. Let's go places together so everybody see I got a man. But don't you understand that breaks a man's heart when all he is a prop too? That hurt his feelings too. All I am is a prop to you. We get home, you don't even care nothing about me. We get off social media. You get on social media, you love me, but then you log off and don't even speak to me. They don't want to be used either. And so this stuff does not happen suddenly. It does not. Many of us are sitting with grieving spouses right now, and we have not checked in with them. We have not been in tune with them. So we have no idea they're in the midst of grief. And then as soon as they leave us, we are devastated. We don't understand. Why did he leave me? He's been grieving for months. And you didn't check in. So Lord's will, we'll come back tomorrow with a few more reasons as to why these things sour ahead of time, so that hopefully it'll help you in your marriage or in your relationship, and you'll be able to stay in tune with your mate and recognize the signs of when they are shutting down. Listen, I love you guys. I hope this has been helpful, and I want you to have a great evening. You already know how, on purpose. God bless you.